Beyond the Gates spoilers tease that Dani Dupree's loathing for Haley Hamilton burns hotter than the July sun. From the moment Haley first appeared on Bill Hamilton's arm, Dani's world fractured. What she saw as the theft of her husband felt like a personal violation, an affront that ignited a wildfire of rage in her heart. Every stolen glance, every sympathetic word Bill offered Haley was a fresh wound. Dani's vendetta became an obsession, in boardrooms and back alleys, at charity galas and late-night poker games. She lay in wait for her chance to strike. Yet as the dust of her earlier assaults settled, a new target emerged: Dani's fierce attachment to Andre Richardson, the only man whose attention had ever managed to calm her stormy spirit. Andre entered Dani's life like a breath of fresh air amid her suffocating resentment. At first, his kindness disarmed her. He listened without judgment to her tirades about Haley, offering gentle reassurances that made her believe she was worthy of devotion. But with emotional security came a terrifying vulnerability. Dani, accustomed to the power of fury, found herself paralyzed by fear. What if Andre, fascinated by her vulnerability, turned his gaze elsewhere? And the inevitable candidate for his affection seemed to be the charming, youthful Ashley Morgan, fresh from her breakup with firefighter Derek Baldwin. Ashley's bright laughter and open warmth were like a beacon. Dani could almost hear her wheels turning, imagining how easily Ashley might slip into Andre's life. In the beginning, Dani watched from the shadows as Andre and Ashley exchanged polite greetings at the Richardson Foundation's summer fundraiser. Andre, in his tailored navy suit, radiated calm confidence. Ashley, in a soft peach cocktail dress, embodied the kind of innocence and spontaneity Dani had long since traded for cynicism. When Andre offered to escort Ashley to the buffet, Dani's fingertips tingled with frost. She could feel the ancient echo of her first strike against Haley the backhand across the cheek in the Hamilton garden party. Yet this time, the prospect of confronting not just a rival, but her own insecurities clawed at her more deeply. The flame of jealousy, once stoked by betrayal, now threatened to consume her from within. Driven by panic, Dani resolved to get closer to Andrito, assert her claim before Ashley could make a move. She began by orchestrating chance encounters, a casual morning run along the park path where Andre jogged, a dropped glove at his favorite cafe, returned with an apologetic smile. Each orchestrated collision left Dani's heart pounding with both triumph and dread. She saw the way Andre's expression softened when he recognized her distress, the protective spark in his eyes. But every moment he extended his kindness, Dani's guilt swelled at the thought that he might one day redirect that same warmth toward Ashley. Meanwhile, Ashley Morgan reveled in her newfound freedom. After the painful end of her relationship with Derica firefighter whose absences during crisis calls had tested her patience, she vowed to embrace life with open arms. When she met Andre at the Richardson Gala, she found him intriguing, attentive but unobtrusive, strong yet empathetic. When he walked her back to her car, offering to check the engine light that had flickered earlier, Ashley felt a flutter of excitement she hadn't known in months. She didn't suspect that Dani, lurking beyond the valet's headlights, was already marking each step of this budding connection. For all Dani's strategic plotting, she dreaded the moment she would have to confess the depth of her feelings to Andre. What if her confession drove him away? What if, in her desperation, she pushed him into Ashley's welcoming arms? In the silent hours of the night, Dani's imagination became a theater of horrors, Andre's gentle reassurances morphing into platitudes for Ashley, shared laughter and inside jokes that excluded her, the casual brush of Ashley's hand against Andre's arm, searing her with envy. Panic propelled her toward darker thoughts. If she could not ensure Andre remained hers alone, then no one would have him to what end? She had spent years constructing her identity around the power of her fury. To destroy everything to avoid pain was to relinquish the very control she prized. The tension between the three reached a boiling point one sultry afternoon at the Richardson Estates tennis courts. Andre and Ashley engaged in a friendly match under the lazy hum of cicadas, their laughter punctuating each serve. Dani watched from the spectator bench, shielded by the dappled shade of magnolia trees. She clenched the rail, knuckles chalk-white. When Andre lunged to return Ashley's lob, their shoulders brushed. The proximity, casual as it was, sent a blaze through Dani's chest. She rose, every instinct screaming to intervene, but instead she forced herself to breathe deeply. In that moment, she understood that her obsession had transmuted from vengeance against Haley into a terror of abandonment. That evening, Dani found herself alone in the Dupree mansion's mirrored hallway, rehearsing a confrontation. She imagined dragging Ashley aside, her words a venomous lash, "Stay away from him." She pictured Ashley's stunned confusion, the betrayal in Andre's eyes when he witnessed her cruelty. But she also pictured the inevitable outcome, Ashley fleeing in tears, Andre's disappointment, in her eyes her worst nightmare. Dani's reflection stared back, haggard and haunted. In the gleam of the mirror, she saw a woman unmoored from purpose, ruled by fears of rejection that eclipsed any thrill her past fury had given her. The next day, Dani orchestrated a meeting with Ashley under the pretext of arranging joint charity work. After all, Ashley had expressed interest in the Dupree family's philanthropic initiatives. They sat in the quiet library, the late afternoon sunlight painting patterns on the Persian rug. Ashley's eyes were bright with sincerity as she thanked Dani for the opportunity. But Dani's heart pounded at the thought that Andre might soon join them. She forced a diplomatic smile, masking the tempest within. When Andre arrived, greeting them both with easy warmth, Dani felt her grip on her composure loosen. They discussed event logistics, guest lists, fundraising goals, but Dani heard only the cadence of Andre's voice, the subtle encouragement he offered Ashley as she outlined her ideas. Each word chipped away at Dani's resolve. When the meeting adjourned, Andre lingered to help Ashley clear some chairs. Dani, her pulse thrumming, found herself stepping forward, a plan forming in her mind. She would deliver a warning, a demonstration of her willingness to protect what she claimed as hers. But delivering that warning would mean shattering the fragile veneer of camaraderie she had so painstakingly constructed. That night, Dani lay awake, draft speeches of accusation rehearsing themselves in her head. She envisioned confronting Ashley with veiled threats, reminding her of her youth and naivete, of the dangers she risked by entangling herself with a man so irrevocably tied to Dani's world. She imagined Ashley's tears, Andre's fury, but most of all, she imagined the crushing relief of affirming her claim. Sleep eluded her as she plotted details, location, words, timing. She chose the Dupree Conservatory, a labyrinth of scented blooms and antique pianos, public enough to send a message, private enough to avoid witnesses. Meanwhile, Ashley Morgan, blissfully unaware, lay in her apartment sifting gala photos on her phone. She giggled at a snapshot of Andre's lively expression as he'd recounted a childhood anecdote about his grandmother. She didn't notice the subtle tension in Dani's invitation earlier that afternoon. "Let's meet for a private preview of the new sculpture installation, just the three of us." Ashley assumed it was an innocent chance to deepen their philanthropic collaboration, and she dared to admit spend more time with Andre. She replied with enthusiasm, tucking her phone under her pillow and drifting off with a contented smile. In the pre-dawn hours, Dani slipped into the conservatory. The moonlight filtered through stained glass windows, casting kaleidoscopes of color across the marble floor. She clutched a folded note in her trembling hand, words of reproach she had refined until each line exuded the twin weapons of accusation and seduction. She rehearsed them. How could Ashley dare to intrude on her life? What did she see in Andre that Dani hadn't given him? Didn't she grasp that to compete with Dani was to court disaster? Dani's reflection in a gilded mirror caught her eye, pale, eyes lined with sleepless worry. And in that reflection, she saw the abyss of her own making. As the first rays of dawn seeped into the room, Andre arrived, calling for Dani. At his side was Ashley, radiant in a simple linen dress. Their voices echoed off the marble, voices bright with anticipation for the unveiling of a sculpture commissioned in memory of the Dupree matriarch. Dani's chest tightened as she listened to Ashley's enthusiastic questions about the piece's symbolic elements, questions that made her feel like an outsider. When Andre stepped forward and said, "We should invite the rest of the foundation board," Dani's heart lurched. The invitation implicitly included Ashley in the most private circles of her world. Fury and fear surged in equal measure. Dani forced a smile, smoothing her dress, as she stepped between them. "Actually," she said, voice tremulous with controlled tension, "I thought I'd like to show you both something else." She gestured toward a locked side door. "I found a hidden alcove with early sketches and models' fragments too delicate for public display." Andre raised an eyebrow, but followed without protest. Ashley looked intrigued. In the narrow corridor beyond, the three paused beneath a frescoed ceiling. Dani closed the door behind them with a soft click that sounded like a rifle shot to her ears. No sooner had the door latched than Dani unleashed her rehearsed note of reproach. Her words drained of warmth, each accusation landed like a blow. Ashley's eyes widened, hurt and confusion mingling on her face. Andre's jaw set as he stepped forward to calm Dani, but she cut him off with a sarcastic laugh, bitter and hollow. "You always side with her, don't you, Andre? She's got nothing going on, freshly dumped, grasping at straws to get your attention. But I'm the one who's been here, stood by you, loved you." Dani's voice cracked as tears blurred her vision. "I should be your focus, not some naive ingenue." Ashley's mouth parted in shock, eyes brimming. Andre reached out, but Dani shoved his arm away. "Don't. Just don't," she hissed. "You'll regret ever looking at her twice." Ashley's hurt transformed into steel. She folded her arms. "You don't get to speak for me," she said quietly. "And you don't get to own him." Dani's breath caught. These words stung more than any blow. Andre intervened, placing himself between the two women. "Dani, this isn't you," he said softly. "I won't watch you tear someone down out of fear." In that moment, Dani felt the ground slip beneath her feet. Her plan to assert dominance had backfired spectacularly. Instead of fear, she saw pity in Andre's eyes. Instead of retreat, she saw Ashley's defiance. And in that flash of revelation, the edifice she had built founded on rage and insecurity collapsed. She fled the corridor, the note of reproach crumpled in her fist, leaving Andre and Ashley staring after her in stunned silence. Alone in the conservatory, Dani sank to the marble floor, tears burning her cheeks. The echoes of her own words haunted her. Did she truly believe that love could be won through intimidation? Had her fear of abandonment driven her to betrayal? As the early morning light warmed the stained glass, Dani realized that the war she waged against Haley had paled in comparison to the battle raging within her own heart. And now, with Ashley and Andre united in compassion, Dani's path lay before her. She could either embrace the self-destruction she had unleashed or fight for redemption by confronting the insecurities she had long flung aside. The hush of dawn in the conservatory offered no answers, only the whisper of petals falling from the sculpture's surrounding garlands. Dani pressed her palm against the cool marble, the memory of her crafted words seared into her mind. Somewhere beyond the gates, life went on. Haley watched Phil with a bittersweet gratitude. Andre and Ashley exchanged words of support. The Dupree family web tightened in anticipation of the next revelation. But for Dani, the real reckoning loomed closer than ever. She would have to decide which edge of her nature to wield next, the edge of fury or the edge of forgiveness. And in that choice lay not only her fate, but the fragile bonds she held most dear. Dani woke the next morning to the harsh glare of sunrise slicing through her bedroom curtains, illuminating the crumpled note in her trembling hand. The echoes of her own words in the marble corridor still rang in her ears, each syllable a reflexive lash born of fear. Now, faced with the day's responsibilities, family luncheon at the Dupree estate, media interviews about her philanthropic initiatives, and a planned meeting with her therapist, she felt hollowed out, every task a reminder of her unraveling composure. She forced herself out of bed, each movement mechanical, as though she watched her body from a distance. Her first encounter was with her personal assistant, Marisol, who breezed in with a clipboard brimming with schedules and reminders. "Your breakfast smoothie is ready," Marisol chirped, setting a glass before her. Dani stared at the green concoction, each froth of kale and protein powder mocking her. "Thank you," she managed, her voice brittle. When Marisol hesitated, sensing the tension, Dani softened the edge in her eyes. "Just let me have a quiet moment, please." As the door closed, Dani pressed the glass to her lips, the bitter taste grounding her. She promised herself she would apologize to Ashley and Andre later. Somehow that promise felt as fragile as the petals in the conservatory. The drive to the Dupree mansion was a gauntlet of flashbulbs and flattering headlines. Reporters clamored for comments about her upcoming charity gala and the art installation tribute to the matriarch. Cameras caught her in designer sunglasses, poised but guarded. Through the tinted glass, she watched Haley Hamilton arrive on Bill's arm. The sight was a fresh stab, Haley's grace, her warm laughter, the way Bill's protective hand rested on her back. The tabloids had painted Haley as the interloper who stole Dani's husband, yet Bill had insisted the relationship blossomed long after their marriage dissolved. Dani knew the facts, but her heart seethed with irrational rage. Inside the grand foyer, Dani greeted guests with practiced courtesy, masking the turmoil within. She delivered a poised speech in the drawing room about community outreach, steering conversation to child nutrition programs. Yet every compliment felt hollow. When Andre arrived, his smile shone like a beacon. He embraced her gently, whispering, "You look radiant." His warmth stabbed at her guilt. She forced a smile, nodding. As he spoke with a potential donor nearby, Dani drifted into a side corridor, seeking refuge. Unbeknownst to her, Ashley had arrived moments later, clutching a sleek portfolio of her designs for the gala's fashion raffle. She navigated the crowd with grace, greeting staff and volunteers with genuine enthusiasm. When she spotted Dani in the hallway, she approached with a tentative smile. "Dani, I'm so glad I caught you. Thank you again for including me." Dani turned, heart pounding. For a breath, she opened her mouth to apologize, to extend a hand of truce. But the moment slipped away as Dani's resentment flared. "Of course," she said curtly, angle of her chin sharpened. "Just enjoy the evening." Ashley searched Dani's eyes for warmth, found none, and retreated, heart pinched with confusion. As Dani watched her go, guilt and anger warred in her chest. She needed to reclaim control, to ensure Ashley would never again feel welcome in Andre's life. But how? Dani's instincts leapt toward sabotage, anonymous complaints about Ashley's designs, rumors whispered to journalists about her professional ethics, even a planted suggestion that Ashley was still hung up on Derek Baldwin. Yet each tactic felt petty, inadequate. She needed something more immediate, visceral. Later that afternoon, Dani slipped away to the Dupree family archives, a hidden vault of heirlooms and private records. She rifled through drawers until she unearthed Ashley's college transcripts gleaned from a mutual acquaintance on the gala committee. If she leaked evidence of a failing grade or disciplinary note to a society blogger, Ashley's reputation could be tarnished before she even stepped onto the world stage. Dani sighed, the thrill of power surging through her veins. She photographed the documents with her phone, fingertips icy as they tapped the shutter. Yet as she lined up the shot, The flash caught her reflection in the archival glass, her face pale, eyes haunted. The image jolted her conscience. Was this who she had become? Meanwhile, Andre found a moment alone with Ashley in the marble courtyard. Lanterns swung gently overhead, lantern light painting the night in amber hues. Andre handed Ashley a glass of lemonade, her favorite, recalling a detail from a conversation weeks ago. She smiled, touched by his thoughtfulness. They walked amid the sculpted hedges, talking about creative visions and childhood dreams. Ashley confessed that she had once aspired to be a fashion designer, then shelved her passion for stability. "You've reminded me why taking risks matters," she said softly. Andre's gaze warmed. "You inspire me," he whispered. The air between them crackled with promise, each word weaving threads of connection. Unseen, Dani watched from a balcony above, the scene slicing through her heart. As Ashley leaned into Andre's side, Dani felt her chest constrict. Rage flared as she envisioned Ashley's triumph, her laughter, her bright future, her claim on Andre's devotion. That ecstasy must be stolen. She slipped away before they noticed her, mind already racing through possibilities of sabotage beyond a mere gossip leak. The next morning, Dani arranged for a surprise business breakfast with the gala's fashion committee, insisting Ashley prepare a presentation on the charity's branding. She specified that Ashley's visuals be displayed on state-of-the-art screens in the Dupree boardroom. When Ashley arrived, portfolio in hand, Dani greeted her with false cordiality. The presentation began. Ashley clicked through her slides with confidence. But when she turned to watch the screens, she froze. The images flickered and glitched, replaced by a mocking watermark proclaiming unofficial sample only. Gasps rippled through the room. Committee members murmured. Ashley's cheeks flushed red as she clicked frantically, but the screens refused to display her actual designs. A cooler full of technical staff hurried in, citing network issues. Ashley's throat tightened. She half turned to Dani, pleading with her eyes. Dani offered a tight-lipped smile. "Technical hiccups happen," she said lightly. Ashley stammered through the rest of the meeting, her voice trembling as she improvised descriptions of her work. When it ended, she fled the room, tears threatening. Andre, who had been walking in to join Dani for coffee, spotted Ashley's retreating figure. He followed, finding her in the stairwell, clutching her bag. "Hey," he said softly, wrapping an arm around her. Ashley collapsed against him, panic and humiliation cresting. Dani watched from the boardroom doorway, satisfaction spiking her adrenaline. She told herself this was merely a Warninga demonstration of how easily Ashley's place could be undermined. That evening, Andre cornered Dani in the kitchen as she poured herself a glass of vintage Chardonnay. "Did you see what happened in that meeting?" he asked quietly, concern etched on his face. Dani's smile faltered. "Yes," she admitted, voice low. "I'm sorry, I thought I could help with the setup." He looked stunned. "Dani, Ashley doesn't need sabotage. She's brilliant. You embarrassed her." Hurt flashed in Dani's eyes, and she recoiled from his gaze. "Iwa's protecting you," she whispered. "She's taking you away from me." Andre's jaw tightened. "Dani, if you don't stop this, I will." His words landed like a challenge. She nodded, swallowing pride and fury. But old habits die hard. In the depths of night, Dani emailed an anonymous tip to a celebrity gossip column. Insider info: the new fashion darling behind the Dupree Gala once failed a university ethics course. Scandal brewing. She added a doctored screenshot of Ashley's transcript with red highlights. Then she deleted her browsing history, curled into a ball on her couch, and wept at the thought of losing Andre. By midweek, the rumor exploded across social media. Gossip sites buzzed with speculation. When Ashley logged onto her phone, she found alerts pinging relentlessly, comments calling her a fraud, threads dissecting her character. Her heart pounded as she realized her professional reputation was at stake. She reached for her phone to call Andre, but her hand trembled. She feared his disappointment. Instead, she crumpled into tears. Andre, meanwhile, received a text from a friend sharing the gossip buzz. He confronted Dani that evening in her study. Paper trails and screenshots littered her desk. "You did this," he accused. "Why?" Dani's breath hitched. "I'm sorry," she choked out. "I was scared. If you love her, I lose you." Andre's disappointment cut deeper than any betrayal. "You need help," he said softly. "This isn't fair to anyone, least of all you." He turned and left without another word. Shattered, Dani retreated into solitude. She skipped her therapy appointment, skipping family dinners, ignoring calls from Marisol. Her world narrowed to the spinning vortex of guilt and craving guilt for hurting Ashley and craving Andre's forgiveness. She slept little and ate less, her mind replaying every moment she'd undermined someone she cared about. Meanwhile, Ashley found sanctuary at Haley's home. Haley, ever gracious, offered her spare room and a listening ear. Over herbal tea in the living room, Ashley poured out her anguish. The meeting sabotage, the online rumors, her fear that Andre believed the lies. Haley listened, empathy shining in her eyes. When Ashley finished, Haley took her hand. "You are talented and honest," she said. "Don't let someone else's insecurity define you." They devised a plan. Ashley would address the rumors directly on her social platforms, share an unedited scan of her actual transcripts, accompanied by a heartfelt post about vulnerability and resilience in creative pursuits. Haley offered to promote the post on her own channels, lending credibility. Ashley felt a flicker of hope. True to their plan, Ashley posted. Within hours, supportive messages flooded in. Colleagues, friends, even strangers applauded her transparency. The story shifted. Ashley's courage became the headline rather than her supposed scandal. In her social DMs, she found an unexpected message from Andre. "I believe you. Please talk to me." Her heart leapt as she typed a reply. At the Dupree Estates Friday evening fundraiser, Haley and Ashley stood side by side near the registration table. The gala had been rescheduled after the transcript fiasco and was now busier than ever, guests drawn by Ashley's public vindication. Dani watched from a corner, hollow-eyed in a sleek black gown that did little to hide her exhaustion. She felt a twist of shame as she saw Andre cross the ballroom floor toward Ashley. He enveloped her in an embrace that was more intimate than politeness, whispering something that made her laugh. The sight ruptured something inside Dani. Fueled by desperation, Dani slipped away to the men's cloakroom adjoining the private staff corridor. There, she found the maintenance door leading to the service elevator. Her plan formed like poison. If she could intercept Andre and Ashley in private, she could issue one final ultimatum: him or her. No more sabotage, no more half measures. She pocketed a penknife from her purse, hand shaking. The cold gleam of steel felt confirmatory, an instrument of control. The staff corridor was dimly lit, the hum of refrigeration units a constant backdrop. Dani pressed the call button for the elevator and waited. When it arrived, she stepped in and pressed the button for the ballroom floor. As the doors closed, her pulse thundered. She gripped the penknife in her fist, its weight a perverse comfort. The elevator slowed and dinged open. Dani slipped out, gliding along the corridor until she reached the side entrance to the ballroom. Through the door's small window, she saw the heads of seated guests and the glow of chandeliers. She opened the door quietly and slipped into the room. Immediately, the softness of violins and the hushed murmurs swelled around her. She spotted Andre and Ashley by the refreshment table. He held a glass of punch, she a plate of hors d'oeuvres. They were engrossed in conversation, oblivious to the charged air behind them. Dani felt the penknife's handle against her palm. She took a step forward. At that moment, Haley emerged from a side alcove, carrying 2 flutes of champagne. She glanced toward Dani and frowned at her pallor. As Haley approached Andre and Ashley, Dani's chest constricted. She raised her hand, penknife hidden in her fist, ready to shake it free. But Haley's bright voice intervened. "Andre. Ashley. You have to try this champagne, it's exquisite." The 3 converged, and Haley offered Dani one of the glasses. Dani caught the extended hand and the flute, the transactions of civility momentarily disarming her. Haley's eyes lingered on Dani with concern. "Everything okay?" she asked softly. Dani's hand trembled so severely the champagne sloshed over the rim. Time stretched. Andre turned at the sound of the flute rattling in Dani's grasp. Ashley's gaze followed. In that suspended heartbeat, Dani felt her resolve falter. The blade's sharp promise dulled against the recognition in Andre's eye, the recognition that she was lost inside her own fear. She could feel it, the line between violence and confession, between control and surrender. Slowly, Dani lowered her hand and the penknife clicked shut in her pocket. She exhaled, the tension leaking out of her limbs. Haley patted her arm. "You've been under so much pressure," Haley murmured. Dani closed her eyes, tears welling. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, voice cracking. "I lost myself." Ashley stepped forward, concern softening her features. "We can help you," Ashley offered. Andre joined them, his expression a mix of concern and love. "We all make mistakes," he said. "But you don't have to face this alone." In the hush of that glittering ballroom, Dani felt the knife's weight lift from her heart. She let the tears fall, her shame and fear laid bare before the 3 people she had hurt most. Haley guided her toward a side table, Ashley pressed a napkin into her hand, and Andre placed his coat around her shoulders. The guests continued their conversations, oblivious to the private reckoning taking place under the chandelier's glow. Dani realized then that her need to control had nearly destroyed the very bonds she cherished. The path to redemption lay not in retaliation, but in vulnerability, admitting her faults, seeking help, and allowing love to mend the fractures. As the quartet remained huddled in the soft half-light, the strains of the string quartet drifting around them, Dani felt the first stirring of hope. She would face therapy again. She would apologize publicly. She would rebuild trust one day at a time. And though the road ahead promised its own trials, she knew she would no longer wield her pain as a weapon. Instead, she would turn it into the fragile foundation of something new, a future built on honesty, forgiveness, and the possibility of a love that endured beyond the gates of fear.